Well, far from ideal conditions here in Liverpool, but pretty much par for the course for Britain in summer.
Well, I started out thinking I was going to shoot around the city centre itself, but the weather was against me. A lot of rain, a lot of wind, and fortunately I had a couple of cameras with me. I've got a digital micro four thirds, and I've also got a film camera, 35mm. So I headed off to the Anglican cathedral where I deployed the digital camera initially, because I've got high ISO, good performance, etc. And I thought rather than show it in colour, I would move straight to black and white, because that's what I've also done the digital images with. Obviously there's some of these traditional sort of shots where you stack it up with a telephoto lens, where you've got the seats, pleasant enough. And I love the interior of these grand buildings. The stonework's amazing. The people are amazing as well who visit them. I've been a number of times, I'll be honest. I have struggled to get something meaningful out of it, so I decided to go for the close-ups, more abstract, using these stacked up chairs, which give a very strong image when processed with high contrast and a fair bit of clarity applied there in Lightroom, which I liked. And again, lovely curves on these chairs and lovely sharp shapes. And if you knew what they were, you would struggle to identify them without the wider view from the action camera. And this is interesting. They were telling the young boy to move away, the family were, because he was blocking people's view, and I thought it was actually better with him in the shot, and I didn't want him to move away. And I've had success in the past in this location whilst I was working around some of the archways and the stairwells, because you can get the sort of an Escher effect going on, and I've done that in the past in colour with the digital camera, but here I actually prefer this particular approach in black and white, because it does remove the distraction of colour, and you have a lot of artificial lighting, and you know what the colour casts are like when you mix artificial lighting sources there. They're horrendous to remove, even with a white balance setting camera. And also shot a few around the cafe of glasses that have been washed, again semi-abstract. If you didn't know what it was, it would take you a little while to recognise it. And a cathedral wouldn't be a cathedral without stained glass. This needed quite a bit of cropping and adjustment in Lightroom to remove the tilt. Obviously I was shooting against funny angles, very difficult to shoot stained glass windows straight on unless you've got a ladder. These were quite interesting, these candles. I did spend some time around here, and I'm a bit annoyed with myself that I didn't get a better image than this one in the end. Using shallow depth of field, it's okay, but there were certainly more angles to be worked out. I actually thought in the end I'd photograph people photographing people, which is actually quite interesting, as long as they don't see you and react badly, which they didn't. But yeah, it's interesting to see what other people find interesting about this location. So anyway, I headed back outside, got out the film camera now. It's very, very wet, it's very windy, it was very cold as well. And as I've said on numerous occasions before, it's quite hard to motivate yourself, so you go straight to a local cafe. Duke Street has got a lovely set of cafes, restaurants, nice food. Sat there for about half an hour, 40 minutes, ordered more food, cake, lots of coffees before heading out again with the little 35mm Nikon and a roll of Ilford's Delta 400. Just a case of pounding around the pavements looking for things to shoot. Now, I always think there's a shot here, but I've yet to discover what it is. I just haven't made anything of it. So you get your steps in when you're doing urban photography, and then it comes to come across these artworks which are always interesting to photograph. You've really got to crop in and do some work on them, but I think that's super duper graphic. I mean, I love the contrast in there as well, and the old doorways. I love this doorway. I mean, the images are changing fairly regular within it, and I've shot it for many years now, never get bored of it either. There's obviously a lot of areas that require improvement around Liverpool, especially around the waterfront. It's seen better days, but of course it's a bit of a haven then for artists and the creative types. Now, I have shot this before.
Not feeling it.
But not today. I've shot it many times before, and I don't think I've got anything more to say about it really. It's wonderful. Better than that shot anyway. It's why on earth I took that one and processed it that way, I will never know, but there you go.
And the rain's back.
Yeah, so weather is a challenge, particularly in Britain in the summer. Yeah, it's never what it promises to be. It's always
Yay, sun.
So the weather was in, the weather was out. My enthusiasm was there 1 minute,
More rain.
and then gone the next. So I must admit, my fallback strategy is to go down to the waterfront down by the Albert Dock. Now there's a lot more in terms of variety of material here, because there's a lot of geometric shapes, lots of curves, lots of lines, lots of intersections, and I quite like the way the wheel here comes together with the roof of the building next door, the exhibition centre, and that's reasonable, I suppose. I mean, it's probably the best I could have done given my levels of enthusiasm.
Still raining.
Yeah, still raining, that's the problem. So the Albert Dock is sheltered, but it has been done to death, the Albert Dock. Good luck getting an original image down there, but it's a beautiful place to be. The colours are wonderful, it's beautifully restored, but I prefer working over towards some of the more modern buildings, the sort of glass and the stainless steel, which I think work well set amongst the older buildings on the Liverpool waterfront. Now, just like I said earlier, I have photographed around here many times before, so there's an element of familiarity, but there's also something new to be seen every time. Now I had a shortish telephoto on here. It goes to about 150mm. Now that gives me some options on these distant buildings to crop in, and this is something I particularly like. I just love the shapes there. Really crop in, cut out the extraneous detail. It's a moody black and white image all day long. But there's the stairways. I did take a few. I'm not going to bore you with them. I've done better ones in the past. And my enthusiasm was dipping somewhat. I think the weather had got to me and I wasn't feeling at my best. So I tried to make the most of it, as you do when you're out on these trips. And I did manage to get a few more, but they were somewhat lacklustre, trying to get one of the sort of sculpture, the frieze along here. But again, I've done it better before with the Ilford Harman 200 Phoenix, which is a wonderfully horrible, poor quality film. But the last thing I got towards the end of the day was in amongst the three graces along the Liverpool waterfront, and I do like these little statues which are set in here. So I took the picture, superimposed them side by side. All in all, quite a nice way to end the day, and yeah, I'll see you again on the next one.